Yo, what is up, you guys? So today I want to bring a different type of video on my channel. I want to talk about some of the biggest changes that Wizard101 could make to actually save the game from dying off or slowly dying off, and some things that would just generally make the player base happy, in my opinion. Now, before I get to the actual video, I want to thank you guys so much for the support on my previous video. If you currently search Wizard101 on YouTube, I am the second thing that pops up behind an official KingStyle ad. So I just want to say thank you guys for that. But I also want to say only 32% of you guys are actually subbed to my channel while watching this, so feel free to drop a subscription. Let me know how I'm doing, and so you can see my videos more often and sooner than the others by just waiting on recommended. Now, I want to quickly touch on PvP before I get to the actual video, because I want to talk about a lot more than just PvP, because wow, that is a main focus of my channel. I want to kind of expand. So PvP, more importantly, the barrier of entry. Now, a lot of you guys know max level PvP specifically. In order to get ready for PvP, you have to do raids, you have to farm the gear from Novus, and you have to farm pens from Novus, and you have to get all these spell elements that are locked behind key bosses to be competitive. And there's a lot of things, like a lot of factors that go into the spell element specifically. But for the gear, a lot of you guys know leagues like Master, in order to get ready for Master, all you have to do is buy a level 50 elixir if you want to go that route. And then all of the gear you need for that level are in packs. Unfortunately, Max is not like this. While a lot of the gear is in multiple different packs, so you have to purchase multiple different packs, and probably a lot of them, in order to get the very specific pieces of gear you need. A lot of the gear is also having to be farmed from bosses that are very difficult with very low drop rates and a very large drop pool, and then having to also farm pins to be competitive from bosses that are not very easily defeated, like Days and Duelist, and having to also fight against RNG and a very hard drop pool. Now, those are just a few of the things that make the barrier of entry very large at max level, on top of the key bosses, which I will be getting into later on keys. First, before I jump to the next subject, I want to talk specifically about stats. Now, I will agree that a lot of my previous videos have been focused on the actual Rochambeaus themselves, but as most of you guys know, in the most recent PvP update, they changed a lot of the percentages on Rochambeaus, nerfing these specifically and upgrading ramps. For example, Oni's Naturalism used to be 55 blades, so you could turn 3 chaps into 55 blades, 355 blades specifically, but now they are only 15 blades, which makes the best trap counter for life something like Centaur, which gives you 3 universal 25 blades. And you're seeing a lot of people using off-school ramps instead of Rochambeaus, which is changing up a lot of the triangle sockets, which is something I mentioned in one of my previous videos, how I wish there was different options to have to run the triangle sockets. Thankfully now, pretty much every school is now running the accuracy on their triangle sockets instead of, bubbles and then running square decks. So that is a very good change for KingsIsle, but one of the biggest things that they overlooked is shield pens. Now, as most of you guys know, if you are not a life or a storm, pretty much you are forced, instead of to run, outgoing pens, you are running just straight resist pens. Now, this is turning into Balance becoming the best school, because Balance can pin to every school. So whatever school is best, regardless of matchup or counter matchup, you're going to see Balance's single or double pinning on top of wards to these schools. Now, one of two things can happen to this to make this balanced. Either you can reduce the actual amount of resist that goes on the shield pens, so you can just turn them down to maybe 6 to 8 or 5 to 7 or something like that. Or you can add more variety to the shield pens, maybe add different stats, or change up maybe add item cards. Maybe there's item cards on shield pens or something. It doesn't really have to necessarily make sense. Just something that adds some variety and some spice to the actual shield pens themselves, instead of just giving every school a free resist. One thing that we're going to be seeing a lot of while we're switching into kind of a dual schooling meta, which a lot of you guys can probably tell just by watching PvP itself right now, is you're going to see a lot of variety on pets now. Instead of just people running 3 wards on every school, you're going to see a lot of people running dual dealers or Mighty Giver, Mighty Bringer, stuff like that, to actually change up some of the pets, which is a good thing, because straying away from meta where every school can just triple ward is a very good thing. Unfortunately, that is still prevalent in this meta. Pretty much every school is double or triple warding with Breaker or running Medic on their pets, which hopefully switching into this new meta is going to add some variety there. So now I want to quickly touch into tournaments. Now, as a lot of the legacy players know, tournaments was one of the biggest things in PvP from ages 2nd through 4th, but with the introduction of 5th age, they pretty much made these obsolete by taking the rewards off of them. Now, one of the biggest suggestions I have for tickets specifically on top of tournaments is a PvP reward system. So a lot of you guys know the loyalty store has the loyalty for the memberships. Now, if we had a system like this for PvP, which I will get into, it'd be very beneficial. So let's say, a lot of people have been complaining about there's no incentive to queue after Warlord. But as those of you who have hit a high rank know, as you hit high ranks, you will start to get a lot more tickets. Now, as you can see, I have almost 1,000 tickets on my life, and I barely played that many games on my life. So let's say, instead of now, because Rochambeau TCs are pretty much obsolete, you cannot really use any of the original Rochambeau TCs in PvP. Now it is just all these ramps and stuff like that. Instead of being forced to craft these, imagine if there was a system where, let's say, 200 tickets could turn into an energy elixir or something like that. And then, or maybe 100 tickets would be a gold key or something. Add more ways to get gold keys, especially through PvP, because the reason people are using gold keys to farm these skeleton key bosses is for spellements for PvP. So by adding a system in PvP, very similar to how it was before, let's say the Motor's Robe, in order to get a Motor's Robe, if you wanted to go free to play, you'd have to play PvP to get tickets to then craft the Motor's Robe. So if there was a system where, I could play PvP to get keys to farm skeleton key bosses to get spellements for PvP, it'd be very beneficial and would be an extra way to get keys instead of the only way being through the loyalty store or through actually paying other people for keys or just buying the spellements outright. Those are a few suggestions I have specifically for PvP that make it a lot better and a lot more incentivized to actually play it. So now I'm going to quickly jump into the loyalty store and some things I could do here. So a lot of you guys know there's been a lot of free membership events where membership for the first arc has been free, or membership for the entire game is free during December. Now, a lot of you guys know the play times when those events are running are way up compared to how they normally are. So my suggestion for this is to make the entire storyline of Wizard101 free to play completely. Now, before I lose you, let me bring up my other suggestion, is make the membership plans be specifically for member benefits and the loyalty store. One of which, expanding the loyalty store to maybe refresh more often or have more items in here, or just more, availability on certain items would be one way. And then for the member benefits, my main suggestion here is to maybe run an official poll in the game, having people rate certain member benefits. So let's say I'm going to use just two quickly as an example, is double animus and double pet. Obviously, for 99% of the game, they would prefer double pet over double animus. So let's say for the best playing time of the game is during the weekends. For example, it's pretty straightforward. People are off work during the weekends. People have more free time during the weekends. So let's say the play time is up. So let's say the best member benefits are on the weekend. So let's say Monday through Thursday, they run double animus. Okay, so the hard grinding players that would use double animus have Monday through Thursday to do it, and then Friday through Sunday they run their best, most used member benefits to encourage people to get on the game. I know some people like who have already min maxed and they're already max level still buy membership for the member benefits. If it's the weekend and it's Friday through Sunday and the benefit is double scroll or double animus or something like that they're not going to use, they just won't play. But if every single weekend it's either double reagents or double pet or double gardening or something useful, then they'd be more incentivized to actually log on during the weekends. And people would pay for the $6 to $10, depending on your plan, for membership, purely for those good, actually useful member benefits every weekend. And having those run all the time would allow people who actually are max and don't need membership, would give them an incentive to actually purchase it every month, purely for the benefits. So that is one of the biggest things that I think would fix the game, on top of maybe changing up some of the scrolls. Now, we've seen 90% of the scroll every month is different. Sometimes the jewel is a little different, or sometimes the hats or the gear is a little different, but maybe changing up the numbers and changing up the elixirs and maybe the packs or something on these scrolls give a little bit of variety, would actually make more people buy them. Or maybe adding more decathlon, because I know me personally, I will buy the scroll purely for the 3 strengthening runes, just because of how beneficial they are in decathlon. So maybe adding multiple of these, maybe adding every single one of these last tiers gives 3 strengthening runes, or maybe adding more pages to the scroll or something. Just changing up some of the things that have been around for a little while and making them more beneficial to purchase would be a huge boost to the game. So those are all the suggestions I have for the video. If you guys have any other suggestions that I did not mention in this, feel free to drop them in the description. Thank you guys again for all of the love I'm giving my videos. And with that being said, I will see you guys in the next one.